Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Shalom. And welcome to End Time Words to Yashar'al. My name is Symmanayah, and these, again, are End Time Words to Yashar'al. If you are tuning in for the first time, Yashar'al, I'm referring to an awakening nation of believers, both Hebrew and Goyim. Goyim simply means other nations, other than Hebrew, commonly referred to as Gentiles. My message is to both Hebrew and Goyim that seek to do the will of the Father, the Almighty Yahuwah, and embrace Yahusha as MessiYah or Messiah. Those who seek to not only obey but also to worship. This message is to you, my family. My name is Symmanayah, and this is June 25th, 2013. And the topic of this message is His voice. His voice, as it gets clearer, will we obey? Again, His voice, as it gets clearer, will we obey? With that said, let us press forward into the message. Are we better than a donkey? Are we more valuable than stones? Are we temples of the set-apart Spirit of the Most High? Scriptures provide us the following. Exodus 19:5 states, "And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine." I invite you to visit Numbers 22:28, Luke 19:40, and 1 Corinthians 3:16. I will read them shortly. Become acquainted with these three scriptures. Numbers 22:28, I'm repeating, Luke 19:40, and 1 Corinthians 3:16. Become acquainted with the possibilities that these verses will make in our walk. Become acquainted of how they would make possibly our journey more meaningful and alive. Let us press to become more obedient, and by doing so, we lift up Yahusha HaMashyach, our Messiah, and let us watch Him draw all to the Father. Let me say that again. By our obedience to Him, this is how He is lifted up. And He stated to us, if He be lifted up, He will draw all men, all women, to the Father. With that said, let me read Numbers 22:28. It reads as follows. Then Yahuwah opened the mouth of a donkey, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you, that you have beaten me these 3 times? Here we see where the Most High opened the mouth of a donkey. Luke 19:40. But he answering said to him, I say to you that if these shall be silent, the stones would cry out. Here we see the Mashiach, the Messiah, informing those that were listening that if necessary, the Father would will cause the stones to cry out. 1 Corinthians 3:16 reads as follows. Do you not know that you are a dwelling place of Elohim, and that the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you? So keep in mind, my brothers and sisters, keep in mind there are diverse ways in which the Most High will reach out to us and speak to us one to another for the building up of His kingdom, His reign, for the building up of the body. Pray on these verses, my brothers and sisters. Ask yourself, how serious are you about this walk? Also ask yourself, does the Spirit of Yahusha speak to us one to another? Does the Most High Father uses us via the guidance and instruction to provide guidance and instruction through the Spirit of Yahusha? How important is the name in all that we do? Are we committed? Are you committed to the very thing you state or say that you believe? Are we seeking to discern the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha often? Or are we just doing this, or do we just do this during emergency times, during drastic or humbling events, when we really need him? Is that the only time we seek to really hear from him? What's holding us back, brothers and sisters? What's holding us back? Do we really want to learn the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha? Are we truly willing to grow in obedience once we establish and identify his voice, once we begin to discover his living guidance, his living instruction? Have we grasped what righteous discernment really means? Are we prepared for the acceptance of our calling in our chosen position in this one body of believers? Let me ask that question again. Are we prepared for the acceptance of our calling in our chosen positions in this one body of believers? What are we experiencing that perfects us, that shapes us for our position in the body of believers? Would the Most High use an individual or individuals to confirm his work in us? Are there really prophets of the Most High among us? Did the Most High equip us with the ability to respond to his voice? Does he want us to grow in acknowledging his living instructions and guidance? I submit to you to visit Genesis 22:18, and it states here, "And in your seed all nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." An example of one who obeyed the voice of the Most High. Genesis 27:8 says, "And now, my son, listen to my voice according to what I command you." Again, would the Father ask you to listen to his voice if it was impossible for us to do so? Some more verses to reflect on. Exodus 15:26. "And he said, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commandments, and shall guard all his laws, I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Mitzrayites, for I am Yahuwah who heals you." Exodus 19:5 states, "And now if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all peoples, for all the earth is mine." Deuteronomy 4:33 reads as follows, "Has a people heard the voice of Elohim speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you has heard and live?" Deuteronomy 8:20, "Like the nations which Yahuwah is destroying before you, so are to perish, because you did not obey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim." 2 Chronicles 7:14, "And my people, upon whom my name is called, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their evil ways, then I shall hear from the heavens and forgive their sin and heal their land." Seek the face of the Most High. How do we do it? Are we encouraged by one another? Do we do it by individual choice? Do we do it collectively as a body of one? Does that require hearing and obeying so that we know what to do, how to do it, when to do it? John, 1st chapter, verse 1 through 3 reads, "In the beginning was the Word was with Elohim, the Word was Elohim." Many people miss that. The Word was Elohim. "He was in the beginning with Elohim. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be." And let's move down to John 1st chapter, verse 14. "And the Word became flesh." So who was it that became flesh? Yahusha, I say. Yahusha, I say. Let me go back to the verse and read it. "And the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem as an only brought forth of a Father, complete in favor and truth." Moving right along, some more verses just to ponder on and pray about and consider. John 6:51. I am the living bread which came down out of the heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he shall live forever. And indeed, the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. So as the living bread, the MessiYah, eaten. Again, I mentioned this in another recording. You've heard that saying, at least in the United States, there's a saying sometimes that says, you are what you eat. So do we absorb? Do we consume righteousness? Do we watch righteousness? Do we listen out for righteousness? Do we obey the voice of the Father? And if so, is that like eating of the living bread? Is that not becoming closer to the Most High? John 14:26 reads, but the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all and remind you all that I've said to you. This is one that is highly ignored, my brothers and sisters. So many people don't want to say that the Comforter, the set-apart Spirit, the Spirit of truth, that is sent in the name of the Messiah. This is the Messiah saying that the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father will send, and he said his name is Yahusha. So therefore, the set-apart Spirit, the Helper, the Comforter, is the Spirit of Yahusha. He goes on to say in the verse, he shall teach you all. So in order for us to be taught, we're hearing, we're seeing, we're reading and understanding. It says, and remind you all. So he's not putting it on our brain where we have to depend on our cognitive factor, this thing in our head. He's saying that he will bring to remembrance. He will remind you all what was said to us. So let us not trust in ourselves, but trust in the Spirit of Yahusha to bring things to remembrance. Is there power in the name? Indeed it is. Many of us echo and talk about Yahuwah, Almighty Yahuwah, how his name should be righteously stated. In Yahusha, we talk about his name. But yet so often, so many of us prefer to just say the Ruach, which means spirit, or the Ruach HaKadosh, which means set apart spirit. We hear that more than we hear the uplifting of the Spirit of Yahusha. Maybe it's time, my brothers and sisters, maybe it's time to contribute more to lifting up Yahusha so that he will draw all. Think about it. Pray about it. John 15:26 and 27 reads as follows. And the Helper comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, who comes from the Father, he shall bear witness of me. But you also bear witness because you have been with me from the beginning. John 17:10 and 11. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I have been esteemed in them. And I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. Set apart, Father, guard them in your name, which you have given me, so that they might be one as we are. Many of us don't even realize that Yahusha means Yahuwah saves, or Yahuwah's salvation. No, we spend time debating, sometimes arguing. Sometimes we allow that challenge to cause a gap in our fellowship. But this segment, my brothers and sisters, again, his voice, as it gets clearer, will we obey or ignore? John 3:36 says, he who believes in the Son possesses everlasting life, but he who does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of Elohim remains on him. Romans 2:8 reads this, but wrath and displeasure to those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness. Take heed. This verse, I will say to you, take heed if you are a self-appointed moray, self-appointed elder, self-appointed prophet or priest, self-appointed leader of any type. Take heed. Take heed. For Romans 2:8 reads again, but the wrath and displeasure to those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness. Yes, we might desire good offices, brothers and sisters, that we consider good or that stand out. But our task, our instruction is to worship and obey. We should adjust our perceptions and perspectives so that we are able to yield to his obedience and accept with humbleness, meekness, eagerness, whatever position we are called or chosen to fulfill. Romans 6:16 says, do you not know that to whom you present yourselves servants for obedience, you are servants of the one whom you obey, whether of sin to death or of obedience to righteousness? You see, it is possible, my brothers. 2 Thessalonians 1:8 says, and flaming fire, taking vengeance on those who do not know Elohim and on those who do not obey the good news of our Master Yahusha HaMashyach. 2 Thessalonians 3:14 reads, and if anyone does not obey our word in this letter, note that one and do not keep company with him, so that he is put to shame. It tells us not to keep company with the disobedient. For a reason. How many of us are patronizing one another, patting each other on the back, not challenging one another to press into the righteousness and obedience of the Most High? How many of us just hang out because we don't want to hurt each other's feelings? How many of us grab the verse that say, do not judge, and therefore our ears are dull, if indeed the Spirit of Yahusha were to speak through us in judging a matter, executing right rulings? Yes, we're not supposed to use our own skill sets, our own academic prowess, or our own perceived opinion to judge a thing. But we are to be sensitive to the Spirit of Yahusha. We are to respond if indeed we are compelled by him to execute right ruling, to echo a judgment on a matter. Yes, my brothers and sisters, there's so much we can do when walking in obedience. Then it is no more I or us, but it is the Spirit of Yahusha that is within us. 1 Peter 4:17 reads as follows, because it is time for judgment to begin from the house of Elohim. Let me read that again. Because it is time for judgment to begin from the house of Elohim. And if firstly from us, what is the end for those who do not obey the good news of Elohim? You see, some know this verse as judgment begins at the house of Elohim first. So, will there be a quickening? Will there be a shaking up of those in the house of Elohim? Will there be reproof and chastening? Will there be execution of judgment, righteous judgment? Will we witness wrath amongst those in the house of Elohim? Those of us, will we receive all that is necessary to bring us into the perfected position that the Most High wants us to be? Did the Most High Father ever provide the skills, resources, and or guidance for his people to fulfill the task given to them? Indeed, he has. Would the Most High Father ever ask us to do something that was impossible? No, he will not. We can come to know his voice. We can come to know his voice. We can come to hear his instructions and guidance. Let us look again at John 14:26. Consider it. But the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, this is the MessiYah, Yahusha talking, he shall teach you all and remind you all that I said unto you. And so therefore, my brothers and sisters, if we are temples, if we are vessels, if these bodies are tabernacles of the Most High, and our spirit has been made one with him by way of Yahusha, then we can hear him speak to us one towards another. We can discern what's right and what's not. I encourage us to continue studying and pursue a heart to increase in worship and obedience. Yes, some of us may be sluggards. neglecting, ignoring, fighting against righteous instructions and guidance. But remember Isaiah 55:11. I cannot stress it enough. The words of the Most High will perform successfully and will not return to the Most High Father empty or void of their purpose. Know this, my brothers, my sisters. The Most High is not going to ask our permission to fulfill His promises, nor ask our permission to execute His plans. Brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. As stated on many occasions, there will be an increase in humbling events. One way or another, we will either accept reproof, chastening unto righteousness, or face judgment and wrath. There are none exempt, not one, nor can we run and hide from what is to come. These are last days, end times, and with this season come the fulfillment of scriptures. Do you desire to get to know the voice of the Most High? Can you accept it is the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha that will guide and teach us? Can you accept that the Spirit of Yahusha will uncover and provide us with the discernment necessary to grow in this walk? Obstacles may come and they will go, but know this, my brothers and sisters, the words of the Almighty Father will be active and perform all as He has designed. How many of us will embrace an eagerness, a hunger, a thirst, a willing mind, body, and heart to learn and obey His living words and instructions and guidance? How many of us will seek to discern when we hear, when we read, when we see actions? How many of us will pray for discernment to identify righteous actions, righteous words, that the body may be fitly joined together? How many of us will echo confirmation to righteousness and give all esteem, all credit to the Most High? How many of us will be able to discern when the Spirit of Yahusha is speaking through another to deliver us a message, whether it be instructions and or guidance? How many of us will be instruments of His hands, used to make what's written or recorded alive? It's all real, my brothers and sisters. It's real. This journey is real. We live, we breathe, we have a heartbeat and more, all for a reason. Grow and discover what's waiting for us to embrace. Also keep in mind, we are to pray without ceasing. Visit 1 Thessalonians 5:17. In other words, ongoing communication is something we should take heed and continue to press into each day, each moment, my brothers and sisters. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. This walk, this journey is a 24/7 task. It is not something that we just do on Shabbat and then the rest of the 6 days are ours to do as will. So many times we see people are visible on Shabbat but become a ghost or unseen or not heard of the other 6 days. Do we honestly believe that the voice of the Most High only comes visit us on Shabbat? What are we doing the other 6 days? Again, His voice, as it gets clear, will we obey or ignore Him? I pray that each of us are able to endure until the very transformation mentioned in Scripture. I pray that you are encouraged. I pray that each of us will grow in wisdom, knowledge, discernment, and understanding. Until next time, my brothers and sisters. Until next time, be encouraged. Endure. Almighty Yahuwah, our Father, is not slack concerning His promises, nor is He slack concerning His plans for our lives. Pray, watch, study. Pray some more and begin to receive increased discernment with understanding, for the time is at hand. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, until next time, shalom, shalom, shalom.